Like you mentioned, my name is Raj. I'm a therapist. I'm also a recovering addict. I got 8 years clean and sober on May 15th, and that's 8 years of real clean time. No Suboxone, no methadone, no sip of wine, no hit off of a joint. It's the gold standard of sobriety. And so what brought me into becoming a therapist and going to the next level is that, many of us in this room have lost someone we love and care about. And that's the common story. And so what's happened is that things have changed, and we're losing about, one person every day in each county to an overdose. And so America is about 5% of the world's population, and we consume 99% of the world's glycogen. For 5% of the world's population, we consume 40% of the world's illegal drugs. For 5% of the world's population, we consume about 80% of the world's OxyContin. We don't have 80% of the world's pain. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, I had a close friend named Jerry, and he was married to Kimmy. And Jerry and Kimmy were married, and Jerry was working at the Chrysler stamping plant. And I got a phone call from Kimmy, and she says, Jerry died of an overdose. Now, I can't tell you that I'm surprised that I knew that Jerry was using, and I started kind of processing, then the grieving, denial. I'm starting to feel angry, and she goes, the story gets worse. I'm thinking, well, how the hell did the story get any worse? She goes, I'm pregnant. And I go, no. And she goes, and I'm doing heroin too. So this story got really worse. So I picked her up within 20 minutes, brought her to her first NA meeting, took her to all her medical appointments, got her detox while she was pregnant. It's a pretty rare thing to do. And so after the baby was born, after we got done burying Jerry, I go to the Godfather ceremony at St. Anastasia's Church in Troy. So it's me and Kimmy walking up to the front with the baby in her arms, and Kimmy's still wearing her wedding band, right? And so it's a Saturday morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking up there. My family's there. Jerry's family's there. Kimmy's family's there. And so the priest looks at Kimmy, looks at the wedding band, and goes, who is he? And I say, I'm the Godfather. And he goes, where's the father at? And she says, he can't be here. She's kind of looking down. And he says, grabbing the child out of her arms, I can't understand why the father of this Christian child isn't here on the most important day of this Christian child's life. And in that moment, Kimmy just lost it. Okay, broke down sobbing. She grabs this arm. My arm is soaking wet with her tears. I'm so angry. I want to put my hands on somebody, let them know how I feel about the situation. And I have what's called an epiphany, a sudden awareness. Addiction killed your friend. Now what are you going to do about it? Right? So my philosophy is when addiction smacks me, I smack them back even harder. When addiction kills somebody that I know, I try to get 10 people sober in their honor. That's how you win a war, with a 10-to-1 kill ratio. That being said, I decided to go to University of Michigan to grad school to become a therapist. So there I am sitting in class and I'm reading the preface of the book. Nobody does that, you know that, right? So I'm reading the preface of the book, and this girl looks over at me and she goes, why would you read that? It's not going to be on the test. I'm not trying to be mean here, but you're getting an education to get a job. I'm getting an education to become an addiction killer. And every bit of information that's in this book is going to help me kill addiction. And that was my philosophy. That's what drove me. I graduated from U of M with a 4.0. That wasn't on accident. That was on determination. So I began to work at a place called Eastwood Clinic as a volunteer. My success is your success. Remember, because the story ain't so pretty. You can ask Rodney. You can ask Don. 24 overdoses to the hospital, right? These doctors told me there's no way you're ever going to get sober. You're going to end up dead in a dumpster. And so, people, you hear that often enough, you might actually believe that stuff, right? At a certain point, I was like, maybe I'm never going to be sober. So, as a side note, nobody was ever betting on me to win, but a few key people off and to the side later on, never in the beginning. So with that being said, working at Eastwood Clinic, I'm doing volunteer work over there. I'm working on my MSW, and I'm carrying out the classic Hazelton literature, right? And recovery today is acceptance of my life and its problems. So I'm handing this over to convicted murderers and people that are on armed robbery charges and drug diversion programs. One of the guys throws it back at me and goes, I'm not reading this shit. So I could have gone into a therapist mode like, you will do what I say. You're a drug addict and your best thing you got you a drug habit. No. Why won't you read it? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. Well, why won't you read it? Because it's got no pictures on it and I got a reading disability and it's kind of embarrassing. So I'm like, all right, how about if I write something and we go over it? Whenever I write something, it's going to have an image on it. He goes, yeah, I'll go over that with you. And so before you know it, I ended up writing a book on addiction called The Underground Recovery Book. Right? So I got a very difficult job. Imagine being me. I go into a high school or a college and make a presentation for 1 hour, right? And so people have seen thousands and thousands of hours of reality television, rap music videos, pro alcohol media, right? And I pop up in there and I go, hey, everybody, drugs and alcohol are bad and sobriety is really good. You gotta listen to me, right? That's a hell of a job. And so I gotta have all kinds of angles on that. So what I've done, you gotta promote, right? So promotion is very important. So we have some t-shirts made up, and so I began thinking, okay, we gotta have something cool, like Fortune Favors the Bold. And at the very end, we're going to play my video for the song called Fortune Favors the Bold. That took me 4 years to write, because by the way, it's hard to make Fortune Favors the Bold work in a chorus, okay? It's a difficult thing to do. But I did. So, we got a t-shirt, Fortune Favors the Bold, we got some drug-free fists on it, looks pretty cool, right? Imagine if my t-shirt said, I can't get high, I'm in drug court. You want to wear that t-shirt to school? You want to wear it around the house? You got to sell recovery, we're not trying to make it look bad. But see, it's going to get more complicated. Why not kind of tie it into what we're all about? Detroit hustles harder. That means what we want it to mean. That can mean spiritually hustles harder. Academically hustles harder. Gets more people sober, hustles harder. But here's where parents get upset. So I got a 15-year-old kid comes into my office, they give me a lecture on cannabis and how it's going to change the world, and I should smoke weed and join him, right? And at a certain point, we're not getting along too well, and he goes, you understand something, Raj? You know that Bob Marley's my hero, and he smoked pot every single day, and I'm a guitar player too, and I'm gonna smoke pot every day and be like Bob Marley. And that's why I say, you weren't ever gonna be like fucking Bob Marley, because when you smoke pot, you can't even go to school, you can't even do your homework, you can't even do your chores. When Bob Marley smoked marijuana, he never missed a concert, and his mom never came to my office with tears in her eyes. That's where I'm going with this. By the way, so we get a kid a t-shirt, and I convince him, try 30 days of sobriety, and do a few other techniques as well. Then he shows the t-shirt to his mom and goes, look, Mom, what his shirt has on the back of it. Mom rolls her eyes, oh my God, who I brought my son to, what the hell's going on, right? I'm like, yeah, well, let's see what happens in 90 days. So 90 days later, he's wearing this shirt to my office, and I say, hey, Mom, your son has 90 days sober now. And she goes, yeah. And I go, how do you feel about that t-shirt now? And she goes, Raj, I love that t-shirt. This shit is complicated. We're trying to sell recovery, and it's a difficult job to do. Is that helpful to understand? And